Hey everybody, it's Orbis Art. Let me just do a quick rundown on this Drizzt Warden figure that I got in the mail today. I got it this morning. I wanted to spend some time to, go through the figure, get some good impressions of it. And basically, there's a bunch of YouTube reviewers that either got this figure and as a free sample and didn't do any research on it. So they really had no input on what some of these accessories are for people who weren't really into Forgotten Realms. I'm not really 100% into it, but I love listening to lore videos on YouTube and hearing people, tell the backstory on things. So here's a quick rundown on these accessories. First and foremost is this weird unicorn necklace that he comes with. This is the goddess Maliki. It's a unicorn, forest goddess that, was cool with Drizzt, and, I guess she takes care of him. I heated it up with a hot air gun to get it to fit around his neck. And it's okay. I don't think I'll ever use this thing. As soon as you put it on his head, on his neck, the hair starts pushing it around and moving around. So that's that. Number two, he comes with these two, the splayed out hand and the fist. I haven't used the fist yet, but the splayed out hand, I like dramatic stuff, so that's what this is for, but mainly it's to hold this. So this is an onyx panther, and this is the representation of Guenhwyvar. Some people are pronouncing her name Guenhwyvar, but Guenhwyvar, that's the way you're supposed to say it. Guenhwyvar is a panther from a, astral plane, that's it. Panther from an astral plane, and most times she's in the form of this onyx panther. I guess if you break this shit, Drizzt is fucked to summon her. But that's what the panther is about. I'm not going to go over the articulation of the panther. I'm just going to tell you some things about what I found with the panther. But that's what the splayed out hand's for, or if you just want dramatic, shit, that's that. All right. You know what this is. Okay. So, on to the heads and the hair dealy. So, the big thing about this was, Hasbro taking a note from a boss fight and their fantasy figures and saying, hey, they have interchangeable hair. That's a good idea. I'll take that, right? So, this interchangeable hair thing, it's a good concept, but I feel like there needs to be a better implementation of it. So basically you have these two little ports on the top and the bottom, and they're like notches, and then they fit into grooves into the head. Problem is, as you start moving the figure around, the hair just keeps, the wig, it's like a wig basically, it keeps riding up, and that was driving me crazy. So for this head, I glued it on, because this is the head I predominantly use the most. Also, I didn't like how tight the hair was mushed on his face here, so I used the hot air gun and kind of stretched it out a bit and reshaped it. But yeah, this one is glued on permanently, because I'm going to mostly display him with this head. The hair is still removable on this one, but this head, the smirking face, or the sass face as I call it, the smirking face, you can see, when I push the hair up, well, it's not doing it now, it's whatever. But as you move the head around, you're going to see it's going to start prying up. Oh, here we go. Now you can see those pegs I was talking about. There they are. And you can see the indentions in the head. Yeah, as you start moving it around, the hair keeps riding up and then pushing up and then leaving you with this gap, and that's really ugly and really annoying. So, if there was a way of just snapping it in, that would probably work a lot better. By the way, the windswept hair works perfectly while he's wearing this hard rubber thing, this hard rubber cloak. It's no so good with this one. Soon as you start moving around, the back of the hair starts fucking with the back of this cloak, and then you're just fucked. So, onto the figure itself. Right. All right. So this is my preferred head. I actually like this face. I'm gonna probably get a second one and then display it with this face with that hair, if you get what I'm trying to say. But now that I glued this one on, it's staying this way. The figure itself. All right. This is Fantasy Marvel Legends. But one major caveat I have with this toy that I thought was really shocking was the scale. It is so small, like so small. Like, look at, this is a standard Marvel Legends, and this is the size of Drizzt here, and you can see he is tiny. Let's look at him compared to a Black Series. Well, I guess he's, now that I look at it, I guess he's not that small. Well, I don't know. I was just expecting it to be a couple inches taller than this. He feels so small in hand, but then again, these kind of Elric, kind of wispy, brooding, pretty boy characters, I guess that's a normal thing for them. Okay, so on to the stuff that I discovered in the process of fiddling with the figure, right? Okay. So, the main takeaway with this figure is, this hip skirt thing, right? So, when you get it out of the package, this thing is glued to the back here. It's glued in right there. And you can see I cut that glue. Why? Because there's a nice ball joint in here, right? And it was totally restricted by this, like lower part of the, and I get what they were trying to do, but it was stupid. It prevented so much movement in the character and so much articulation, and it's so much better now. So, take my opinion, slide an X-Acto knife down in there and just slip it out and cut it. You're gonna have to work it in. Like, you have to work the blade down in there and you'll be able to cut it free. But once you do, it just improves the mobility of the figure. On that note, it has all the Marvel Legends articulation, the ball, even, and the ball joint in the base of the neck. As you can see now that I've glued the hair into place, you can look up a little bit more, because this hair was holding it down. But you can see this hair is still moving slightly. I don't know if that's showing up on camera. Look, see? It's moving. There we go. See? So the super glue isn't holding it 100%. It's still able to, like, look up. Lastly, Guenhwyvar. So, when I got this out of the package, this leg was frozen to all high hell, and it would have definitely broken on me. You can see how strong the detents are in this thing. It's pretty heavy. So what I had to do was heat it up with a hot air gun, both sides of the hips, and then pry it apart like so, gently, of course, and then drip some, silicone lubricant into the joints, into the ball joints in there. There are ball joints in these, inside of these hinges. Same with these front ones. These front ones are weird. Like, this one's sticking. You can hear that clicky. And this one is loose. Well, not super loose. But, this was just too tight to move whatsoever. But now that it's all lubed and everything else, and I also, splaying it apart like this gave it more, like, I can move it a bit more than it was before. Before, it was just stuck like this, and you couldn't even move. All you do is move the leg forward and back. Now that I heated it up, you can pry the legs apart a little bit more. A lot of nice movement in the neck. One thing that is the biggest takeaway for me with this stuff is I'm a Nazi when it comes to tolerances on the figure, having nice stiff joints. And my first thing I noticed out of the box is how tight these hips are, in a good way. Like, I didn't have to pour super glue into the hips like I did with the Power Rangers figures. The only place I had to put a little bit of super glue was in these top knee joints. I felt like they were a little too loose for my liking. So what I did was, with a toothpick, I dripped a tiny bit of Loctite right there in that seam right there in the joint, and then just worked it slightly. And since these are seamless joints, you don't want to put too much super glue in there because you don't want to, mess up the detents inside of the plastic. But now that I have put a little bit of super glue on both sides of the seam here and here, the joints are perfectly tight and tolerant, and everything is perfectly tolerant on this figure. So nice. What else is there to say before I go? The energy effects on the swords, I did my research on these. This blue one is Icing Death, and this is Twinkle. Oh, that's a terrible name. Anyway, Twinkle apparently isn't supposed to be an ice weapon, so I don't know why they gave, I guess, Hasbro was just like, fuck it. Like, here, whatever. This one, it makes sense. The blades aren't that intimidating. They do fit nicely into the sheaths here. I am a little worried over time. Oh, no, it's not fitting into the sheaths. Oh, maybe I'm putting the wrong one into the wrong sheath. Oh, that's something. Oh, yeah, they work differently for each. Oh, so this is, Icing Death is meant to go into this one. Oh, wow, I just discovered that on camera. Oh, okay. So Twinkle is meant to go into this one, and Icing Death is meant to go in this one. Yeah, anyway, what else am I going to talk about? So these connections here, if you had any Lord of the Rings figures, you know that these tend to snap on you over a while. I'm a little nervous of them over time, tearing, but we'll see. But, alright, so that's it, so this is Orbis Art, this has been my brief review of Drizzt and Guenhwyvar. I hope you guys found it, the info a little bit fulfilling. Like I said, YouTube reviewers, they went over all the articulation, shout out to Robo of the Foosh and some of the other people that did some really pretty thorough reviews. I just wanted to point out little nitpicks and stuff to watch out for when you get your figure. Get this figure! Alright, get this figure. Alright, I'm just gonna say this last piece before I go, right? I feel like this is Hasbro seeing all the money that the, horsemen have been making off Mythic Legions and saying to themselves, hey, those look like D&D type characters. Maybe we should just tap into our D&D archive and start utilizing and making high fantasy figures. And you know what? I'm all for competition. Competition breeds, what is it? Whatever. Competition breeds, innovation. That's it. Competition breeds innovation. I want more fantasy figures. More variety of fantasy figures. So right now, we have boss fights and we have, the Four Horsemen. I will want to see more. I want to see more companies making fantasy. We've had sci-fi figures for too long. Let's get some more range of fantasy characters coming in, other from Lord of the Rings and, Game of Thrones, and I guess Harry Potter counts. But you know what I'm trying to say. I want to see more dragons. I want to see more monsters. More monsters! Yeah, I'm really excited for this toy line. Go out, get the damn toy from, HasbroPulse.com. Thanks for watching. Bye.